Yo, JD here to Limitless, and as you can see, we are back on F1 2021 as always, and in today's video, we arrive at BRS Mexico, which I believe is round 7 of this championship, and actually did this race last weekend, so it's been a little while. And as always, I really look forward to Mexico. It's a track that I feel suits me incredibly well, because you need to be very consistent within the track limits, and it's all about momentum through this circuit. And one lap pace has never been my strong suit here, but I was doing my best in this one. We've got people like Levi, who is incredibly fast, but I was always planning.
What the fuck?
As we get an invalidation here in Q1. So this was actually a bit sketchy at this moment, having to do one final lap almost in the drop zone. So I need to get a good lap on the board, and thankfully we managed to do that in the last few minutes of Q1. But yeah, I always try and focus on the race for Mexico. It's a very open strategy. Okay. But you will see it's actually scheduled to be pretty much full wet conditions, which I don't know how often it rains in Mexico City, but seems to happen an awful lot on this game and in previous F1 games as well. But you can see moving into Q3 now, and this is actually going to be my fastest lap that I did. So Levi was always the man to beat, but with the setup I was running, which I have posted in my YouTube member Discord, it was very fast in a straight line. And you can see in this first sector, if you look at the top left compared to Levi, we were just almost 2 to 3 tenths clear in this first sector. And this track, you definitely need to save a lot of ERS, and it was full wet conditions. I did decide to actually change myself. I still felt quite confident that in a straight line that would actually be a big enough factor for me to maintain track position. You can see in this first sector, we were so far ahead, but now it's going to be, particularly in this last sector. So going through here, just try and carry the momentum as much as possible. And with a full downforce setup, you should be taking this quite comfortably flat out. And going through into here, we're 2 tenths up on our time. So this is actually quite a good lap, all things considering, as Kimi does a 14.2. Coming through into here, this was my Achilles heel going through this last corner, and we do go wide. So you can see we're going really wide. Luciano does a 14.0. What are we going to do? We're going to do a 14.0 ourselves.
That's such a bad last corner.
And that last corner just let us down, just lacking the downforce set. You can see the top 3, less than a tenth of a second. I think if we nailed that last corner, could have been enough. But you can see it's raining, but we are starting on slick tyres, which the game decides to throw this curveball now and again, and these are absolutely nightmare conditions to be racing in. But it's a very long run down to turn 1, and with this downforce or the setup I was running, we were just so much faster in a straight line. So preparing ourselves for the grid here, as we've got 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights here. If we can get a good start, I think we have a really good opportunity to take the lead going into this turn 1. So getting a pretty good launch off the line. I know Levi was running much more downforce than me, and you could just see side by side, we are just so much faster in a straight line. So coming into this turn 1, what we're going to do, we're actually go round it outside to get the inside, and then just completely get our elbows up. Make sure he doesn't try and go down the inside, and we have done exactly what we wanted to do, getting track position on track. And I felt even in the wet, since I was so fast on a straight line, it's so hard to overtake in this middle sector. I felt really confident of maintaining track position, because it's only through these sequence of corners, but as long as I get a good exit off the corners, I don't think there's really too much that Levi could do to overtake me in this race. And even if he did, I felt like our straight line speed was so good that if we were semi-close coming off the last corner, we would actually have a really good chance at re-overtaking him. And plus, we're going to be able to save ERS much easier, since our engine isn't having to work quite as hard with a higher downforce setup. So exactly where I want to be at this stage of the race, and I was actually feeling pretty good in these conditions. So going across the line, the gap is 0.2 of a second behind, but you can just see already on the straight line, we're just absolutely pulling away. Even with the slipstream, we're actually pulling away in a straight line. So unless he gets an insane run off this last corner, I think it's going to be pretty good. So as we skip on to the end of lap 2, gap is about half a second behind. Going across the line, we do a 22.9. I think Snipes does a 22.7. My championship rival, LMA Maris, is not having a great race at this stage, and we will be posting the championship standings at the end of this, don't worry. But skipping on to lap 4 now, Levi is quite close to Snipes again, does another 22.7. Anyway, Morris, there he is. He does a 22.5, so confirming that he does indeed have the pace. But the problem with Mexico is that you have this really long DRS straight, but then you actually have another dose of the DRS coming off the first couple of corners, and I knew Levi was going to be pretty close here, so I'm not really fighting this too hard. You can see even with DRS, he barely got that move done as well. So now let's see if we're able to stay with him with this lower downforce setup. And you can already see through the corners, he is going to be gaining a bit of time. But as soon as we go on the straight, we're just going to be clawing up, being back in very quickly. But as you can see for this section, feels like an absolute cargo ship. And you can just see the grip he has going for here. But the great thing is that we have another DRS zone here. So this is going to keep me in play. And then the detection point is actually just a couple of corners after this. So it's really, really hard to break someone's DRS round here. It's extremely hard. And I felt if I could have broken the DRS, even if he was faster in the middle sector, I think we were just getting too much time on the straight. And you can see he was over 1 second coming off this corner. But the detection point is quite a way before. So the gap is 1 second. Let's see what's going to be coming through into turn 1. And you can see it's 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths. Gained half a second. And I believe he was using the battery power down here. And then again, we have another dose of the DRS here. I think you're going to be over 1 second quicker in order to break the DRS. And you can see we're back to within under 3 tenths again. So despite that gap he made, I felt quite confident that we could stay with him. So we move on to lap 7. Gap is about 7 tenths of a second between Levi and Snipes behind. Says that the weather is starting to change, so the track is getting wetter, and you can just see with this speed we have, it's going to be an easy move, and we actually get back on the racing line almost going into this turn 1. So we are an absolute missile in a straight line, and with this DRS here, there is no chance that he's going to be able to spawn. So I was feeling very, very confident at this stage of the race. Wasn't too worried about my ERS because I knew sooner or later we would be turning to wet conditions. And you can see now, I think it's becoming very, very close to the point where we need to put on the intermediate. So didn't feel it was quite the right time yet. But as we come into this turn 1, DRS has now been disabled, which is normally a very key indicator. But Acciona retires. Acciona's out of the race. And that has actually deployed the full safety car.
Perfect.
And yep, that was absolutely perfect timing for us. So, of course, we're going to take advantage of that. And we would have boxed this up anyway. But the problem was just the softs and the dry tyres were just so slow in these conditions. Even under safety car conditions, we were just going too slow on that in-lap. And if the conditions were normal, we would have jumped Levi by an absolute mile. But you'll see as we come out the pits here, see he's coming past right about now, and he just gets out ahead of us.
The tyres are too slow. Even the safety car is just too slow.
And yeah, the conditions were just too wet, and we just lost too much time, even with the safety car coming out. So yeah, a little bit frustrating. But you can see now, the conditions are actually just getting even worse, and now we have to box for the full wet tyres. So these conditions are absolutely like monsoon conditions, and we don't have any red flags available, but I know for a fact that if this was real life, this race probably would be on the red flag right now. The visibility is so bad, and the thing is, on console and Xbox and PlayStation, you can't get rid of these raindrops. Only on PC you have that luxury. And I know a lot of people say to me, oh, change the near clip plane of the camera settings. It doesn't do anything for me at all. So you can see this visibility is incredibly poor. I much prefer playing on PC because the visibility is just so much better. You can see absolutely not even our hand in front of us. But as we try and get a good start, we get a really good start. Levi has been caught a little bit napping here, and with the straight line speed, it's already hard enough to overtake in the wet weather conditions, but this could prove to be a huge advantage. You can see the straight line where it's just so fast. Who blinks first? Coming to MAS Fairley goes out wide, and we're going to get 2 in 1. 3 people down into this top one, and everyone else ahead of us has actually stayed out on the intermediate tyres. So we are in the box seat here, but Levi has got a lot of downforce on board, so I suspect he'll probably be following us through to try to get the switchback on BRS Ermine, and we get that done very nicely. And at the moment, the intermediates are the tyres you don't want to be on. So, pitted at the right time. So, good decision so far. Coming through into it, we're behind Luciano and Snipes, who is another championship rival, as we actually get our first track limit warning here. Coming through into here, trying to get a good exit. I really wanted to put a car between myself and Levi, so we're actually going to take a bit of a risk here. We're going to go down the inside. The gap is there, making a bit of contact, leaving some room on the exit, and that was a little bit of a risk, but I really wanted to try and put a car between myself and Levi, but as you can see, he has unfortunately followed through in, well, like you would in a kart race. Coming up through into here, I was going to try and get past Snipes as quick as possible, and these intermediates are just not working. And it looks like it's going to be these conditions for the next 10 to 15 minutes before it starts to quieten down once again. So coming through into Star 1, you can see Snipes is not confident on the brakes. Wet tyres, the full wet tyres, are definitely the ones to be on at this stage of the race. So it's really trying to get a good exit, and you will be able to see the power of our straight line speed. Coming through into here, what happens? Does he go defensive? Yes, he does. But so we spot a gap to go around the outside to get the inside for this right-hander. He leaves us just enough room. And now we are back up into P1. I think we were around P5, P6 a lap ago. And now we have gone up. We've overtaken 5 cars to get back into the lead. And you can see Levi has followed us. But you're about to see here now. Skip on just one sector. Coming through into here, everything is going to plan, and MS Fairley has retired from the race, and that has released another safety car. And at this stage of the race, it definitely wasn't intermediates, and it's always hard being the leader of making the right decision, but I decided to continue. This felt like the right decision at the time. You can see how much time the people in the inters were losing,
we need
and
monsoon tyres.
a lot of people have decided to stay out on the inters because they're just hoping it will lighten up with this rain. So they've taken a bit of a risk, but it is still definitely full wet at this stage. So trying to get a good restart, and we get a really good restart. So making sure we don't go until just before the line, just to try and catch people out behind. And yes, you can see with the straight line speed again, we have gained so much time, and Big Massive Sam is actually going down the inside of Levi. They're going battling side to side, and that was an absolutely perfect restart. So I was still confident we're on the right tyres at this stage. You can see we're pulling away from the inters, but once again, you're about to see, as we skip ahead just a little bit more into this lap, so we're not even doing another lap. You can see how much time the intermediates are losing. They're losing so much time at this stage. But as we come through here, they've lost about 2 seconds in one sector. So the full wets are still the tyres to be on. But another safety car has decided to come out. And again, with these conditions, the wet tyres still felt the right ones to be on. As Jeff is telling me, the rain is getting slightly lighter, but it still felt that full wets were the tyre to be on. And the people who are on intermediates, they have nothing to lose here, really, to be honest. So you'll see as we go through, are we going to box? The answer is no. We actually stay out, and so does Levi as well. So does Big Massive Sam. And the people in the inters also stay out. So not many people are pitting under these conditions. So as we're coming towards the end, trying to get another restart. So making sure we don't go too early. Really try and catch them out. And we're going to try and do the same once again. So coming through into here, almost losing the car here. But once again, get a really, really nice restart. And there's no way we're going to be overtaken. So this is absolutely perfect for us. Got a lot of wet runners behind. So the intermediates are still struggling in these conditions. And now we actually go really, really deep, which was my first indication that maybe the crossover period is starting to happen. As you hear Jeff say there, light rain, it might actually slowly start to be moving towards the intermediate tyres. And, you know, when you have races like this, it's really, really hard to predict what tyre you should be on. But coming towards the end of a lap, I just felt like I had so much understeer. And so quickly, within the space of 2 corners, things just change very, very drastically. So I decided to box to go on these intermediates. And the people who stayed out on the inters, they didn't really have that much to lose, so they could afford to do this risk. But when you are leading a race and you don't really have much of a reference around you, and when you're putting away so much from the inters, it's very, very hard to pull the trigger and make that decision. But we decided to do it now, just to see if we could get some track position on Levi. As Jeff is telling us, light rain is here to stay, as he just never ever shuts up. But as you're coming through towards the end of lap 22, coming out the pits, it's going to be Levi now, and looks like he actually has a little bit of an overcut on us. So with the straight line speed, let's see what we can do. So coming through into here is absolutely crucial, otherwise we're not going to get this position. So he goes in a little bit deep into this corner, and then we're just going to go around the outside to get the inside for this right-hander, trying to get some good traction off this corner. We're going to go side by side, but once again, with the straight line speed, you can just see how much faster we are here. We managed to get this move done. He's trying to go around the outside to get the inside for this, so we're going to leave him some room on the inside. Nice, fair racing so far. We get the traction on the outside, and that was absolutely crucial to get that move done. But then the virtual safety car now comes out, which was not good timing for us at all. So we're about to see, as we go skip towards ahead again, that people in the inters, most people decided to stay out as well. If we had a full-blown safety car, that would have been quite nice at this stage. But it was only my teammate who has pitted under the virtual safety car. And looks like it's going to be ending soon. And as he comes out of the pits, you just hardly lose any time under the safety car or the virtual. So all of a sudden, we've gone from P1 to P10. And myself and Levi, yeah, was pretty frustrating. But the virtual safety car is going to finish shortly. You can see my delta is about 1 second. And you're about to hear a little bit of frustration. So the safety car, virtual safety car is now ending. Coming through into here, it looks like my teammate is actually deciding to let me go. So we go down the inside, expecting to have the corner, but then he decides to fight back.
What is he doing?
And again, I'll let you listen to this little bit of frustration here, as you'll see this.
What is he doing? What the fuck is he doing, man?
And it's just going to continue going through into here as well.
Fucking hell, man. Fucking shit teammates.
And
what's he fucking doing?
Yeah. Just to clarify that, because you pit under the virtual safety car, it sometimes really messes with your delta, and my teammate had a completely different delta. So to me, I was well within my delta, but on him, he had to actually brake quite a lot. So I thought he was letting me go, which I did think was very, very generous, and he didn't need to do that. But then when I saw him fight back again, I thought, what on earth is he doing? But our deltas were completely different, so he wasn't letting me through. And yeah, and as you can see, we had really good pace in the wet and in the slicks at the start, but in these conditions, we just didn't have any pace. We were just really, really struggling. With the low downforce in the inter conditions, I was just having a really, really tough time. So either full wet or slicks, I think we had a really, really good setup. You can see our straight line speed is really good, but yeah, we just really, really struggled to make the progress. And yeah, it's easier said than done when you make the right decisions here, but yeah, it's very, very frustrating. But luckily, Millsy and Big Massive Sam are having a bit of a ding-dong here, so we're going to try and get 2 and 1. We've gone up into the points. We actually do have a 3-second time penalty, which was because we crossed the pit lane line as one of our warnings, but we didn't get that removed in the end. And yeah, first part of the race was really, really good, but in the inters with this setup, we just didn't have the pace at all. And I think if it stayed full wet, I think we would have had enough pace to maintain that position as well. So sometimes it's about being in the right place at the right time. The people who stayed out the inters took the gamble, despite inters not being quick at the time, and it has paid off for them. So yeah, if this is real life, I probably would suspect that it would have been a red flag, but still an enjoyable race. LOA Morris has gained points from me because of this race. Now we're going to come home. Let's see where we do come home. We come home in P8 in the end, and yeah, I think that's where we're P9 in the end. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I think the race we did recently was Jeddah, which will be coming out later this week as well. I will be doing many more open lobbies this week. It's something I haven't done for a while. I'm really looking forward to doing that again. So make sure you join the YouTube membership if you'd like an invite into those lobbies. Thank you so much. Go to coachlimitless.com for one-to-one coaching with me. And I will be catching you very, very soon. Peace.